Thank you all for coming to join us this morning. I'd first like to start by remembering this day. September 11th is important in our nation's history, as well as understanding the tragedies that are occurring with the natural disasters in both Texas and Florida. So I'd like to start with a moment of silence. If you join me, please. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to need that. So my name is Chris Zull. I'm the City of Grand Rapids Traffic Safety Manager. I'm responsible for lighting signals and signs throughout Grand Rapids, which includes both bike and pedestrian safety measures. We're here today to announce the kickoff of a first-of-its-kind pedestrian safety campaign here in Grand Rapids. Our campaign's ultimate goal is to save lives and reduce injuries throughout the Grand Rapids area. Pedestrians-involved crashes with motor vehicles are coming far too frequently in our great city. We're on a mission to find out not just why, but also who, where, and when, so that we can educate and inform both the pedestrians and the motorists on their rights and responsibilities, making our community safer for everyone. Today marks the beginning of the first phase of this multi-year pedestrian safety project, which has included a $120,000 grant from the Office of Highway Safety Planning. From today through September 22nd, high visibility enforcement zones will be seen throughout Grand Rapids at up to 21 crosswalk locations. At these locations, Grand Rapids police officers will observe pedestrians and motorists' behavior and their interactions with each other. The officers will not be there to issue citations. Rather, as necessary, they will provide warnings and education about the pedestrian safety laws in Grand Rapids. Also, under the first phase of the campaign, we're conducting a survey of Grand Rapids area residents to gain insight into the awareness and perceptions of pedestrian safety laws. Ultimately, the full multi-year pedestrian safety effort will include a combination of regulations and policy, engineering, public information, and education and enforcement aimed at reducing deaths and injuries. Our transportation infrastructure needs to be safe for everyone, whether you are walking, driving, or taking transit. That can only happen if everyone knows their rights and responsibilities as we move from place to place. By educating the community about the rules and responsibilities regarding pedestrian traffic, we are strengthening relationships between those on foot, bicyclists, and motorists. I'd like to thank the City of Grand Rapids City Commission for its strong support of this pedestrian safety initiative and the traffic safety departments. Joining me this morning to talk more about the campaign and the city's traffic safety efforts is Second Ward Commissioner Ruth Kelly.
Thank you, Chris, for your kind introduction, and also thank you for the work that you are doing to keep pedestrians safe in Grand Rapids. As Chris mentioned, the first phase of this new pedestrian safety campaign will primarily consist of gaining insight into how motorists and pedestrians are interacting. We also want to discover how well each group knows their rights and responsibilities, as Chris said. The information that we gather during this first phase will help the city develop a comprehensive plan that will achieve significant, lasting improvements in pedestrian safety. The need for this effort is very clear. Unfortunately, state data indicate that Grand Rapids has a higher than average rate of pedestrian-involved crashes with motor vehicles. For example, between 2012 and 15, there were 790, nearly 800 pedestrian-involved crashes in Kent County alone. That's the third highest among counties in the state of Michigan. But more strikingly, it's just slightly below Oakland County's 866 crashes, despite Kent County having only roughly half of Oakland's population. Among the county's pedestrian-involved crashes between 2012 and 2015, 439 occurred within the city of Grand Rapids, or 56% of all crashes in the county. So clearly, we need to do something. On behalf of the Grand Rapids City Commission, I can assure you that we are committed to addressing this critical safety issue. Of course, this campaign would not be possible without the work of our fine officers in the Grand Rapids Police Department. Here to tell us more about that effort and the role that law enforcement personnel will serve in this effort is Lieutenant Dave Schernstein. Welcome, Dave.
Good morning. My name is David Schnerstein. I'm currently serving as a lieutenant at the Grand Rapids Police Department, and one of the things I'm in charge of is the traffic unit, which is what brings me to stand in front of you today. On behalf of our officers in our department, I want to assure you we're eager to get started on this. We believe we'll save and improve the lives of the citizens of Grand Rapids. And just to reaffirm what Commissioner Kelly said, our first phase of this, we're not really intending to write people tickets. It doesn't seem to be the primary purpose or achieve the goal necessarily the first go around. We intend to basically examine the behavior of the people at these 21 high visibility enforcement zones and essentially educate them and talk to them about what they've done or what they should do in that area. We think we can make a significant difference gaining more information rather than just writing citations. We chose these locations for the high visibility enforcement based on their high rate of motor and foot traffic. We also decided to focus our efforts on intersections because of the high rate of pedestrian-involved crashes at those locations. To expand on the data that Commissioner Kelly mentioned for those 3 years, half of all pedestrian-involved crashes in the city of Grand Rapids happened in or at an intersection. And that is quite different than what you find statewide. Statewide, that is more like a third that they're in or at an intersection. Thank you. We're very and so what I'm saying is, in Grand Rapids, we're finding it very statistically significant that the highest rate of the crashes is occurring at an intersection as opposed to not, which is what is the rest of statewide. Our department is thankful to have Professor Ron Van Houten from Western Michigan University partner with us. He is a nationally respected traffic safety expert, and he helped our officers prepare for operating these high visibility zones in the city, which they're currently at one right now. He is here today to share some of their expertise with us. Professor Van Houten, if you wouldn't mind stepping up.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you for all your help in setting up the training. I also like to thank all the people of Grand Rapids for the opportunity to assist with this campaign. I can assure you, you're not alone. Pedestrian crashes are increasing nationwide, and National Traffic Highway Safety Administration is really concerned about this, and that's why all this funding is available to do something about the problem. We had an 11% increase in pedestrian crashes this year alone, and that's following up on other increases we've had in preceding years. We had a record 6,000 pedestrians killed, and 80,000 injured in 2016. So one thing you can do, by the way, is to slow down and look for pedestrians. You don't hit what you're looking for. Here's part of the problem. People are always attending to other cars when you're driving. It makes sense. I'm looking at the car in front of me. And when you do that, you miss people on the side. You miss the pedestrian in the crosswalk. You miss cyclists. You have to train yourself to start looking for all the road users. So that's important. The other thing you can do is yield to pedestrians in crosswalks when they're crossing in crosswalks, slowing and stopping if necessary so they can cross the roadway. It's important that when you do that you give them some space and some room. Don't stop right at the crosswalk. Try to stop a little bit in front of the crosswalk because the next driver may not be paying attention. So give them an opportunity to see each other and prevent a crash. Officers will be stopping, as the lieutenant says, stopping motorists that fail to yield to pedestrian crosswalks in all 3 wards. So be a good model and yield to pedestrians who are crossing in the crosswalk. It's also possible that this trend, we can fight this trend, we can improve safety and the ease of walking with this program. We've done work in the past showing that it is possible to change the safety culture, to change what people do. And we do want more people walking. Walking is healthy, it's a good thing, and all of us are pedestrians from time to time. So again, I'd like to commend Grand Rapids leaders for taking the initiative to improve safety, and this leadership includes Grand Rapids area contingent in the Michigan legislature, including Representative Winnie Brinks. And Representative Brinks is here to share some thoughts with us.
Thank you, Professor Van Houten. And let me echo your praise of Grand Rapids leaders for stepping up to address pedestrian safety. That's what folks in Grand Rapids do. They identify a problem and they go out and solve it. In fact, This pedestrian safety effort follows the city's highly successful Driving Change Bicycle Safety campaign. As I'm sure most or all of you know, that campaign was aimed at improving safety of Grand Rapids bicyclists. Sadly, the Grand Rapids area historically has had one of the worst bicycle-related crash rates in Michigan. At the same time, they were greatly upgrading the city's bicycling infrastructure. City leaders prioritized making Grand Rapids bicycle friendly, and they succeeded big time. The two fatal or serious crashes that occurred between May and September in 2016 were an 81% decrease from the same period from 2015, and the lowest total in Grand Rapids since 2010. Total crashes involving bicyclists decreased by more than 40% in 2016 for the same 5-month reporting period. I have proudly shared the Grand Rapids story of bicycle safety success with my colleagues in the legislature. Now, with the launch of this pedestrian safety campaign, I expect to be able to tout another Grand Rapids success story to my colleagues in Lansing. I know Representative David LeGrand, my Grand Rapids colleague in the State House, is also very proud of our accomplishments here in this community, and he is with us here today as well. I welcome you to the podium, David.
Morning, everybody. Honestly, I'm a little less proud of our accomplishments than I am urgent about the work we have to do. I will tell you, I'm glad that our bicycle crashes are down, having been a cyclist myself. I'm probably the only person up here who systematically walked to work. I was a working pedestrian and walked to work for 20 years when I was working in Grand Rapids. It's a little far to walk to Lansing, but I have a lot of pedestrian experience, and so my urgency right now, frankly, is that we work on a number of things. The first is public awareness, and so I'm very glad that we're doing this first step. It's always important that we actually engage our citizens and explain to them what the law is, but we can do much better. And I have a few ideas that I'd like to share right now. The first of those is, I think we need to eliminate anti-pedestrian bias in our signals in Grand Rapids. Our signals tend to be car-centric, and they don't give pedestrians all the information they need, and they certainly can even confuse cars in interactions with pedestrians. The second thing I think we need to do is I think we need to change our construction protocols. Right now in the city of Grand Rapids, on construction sites, construction projects tend to get permission to essentially eliminate sidewalks, and there's no appropriate sidewalk substitute provided. I think that has to change, and other cities do a much better job on that. The third thing I think we have to do is look for best practices in other cities. For example, in the city of Halifax, Nova Scotia, at pedestrian crosswalks, there's a button that pedestrians can hit. A flashing yellow light comes on and traffic has to come to a complete halt. Our crosswalks in Grand Rapids are obscure at best and generally ignored by motorists, but that's not necessarily out of malice. It's simply because we need to do a better job of flagging where pedestrians are crossing the street and allowing them to do that safely. I also think, and I speak on behalf of the disability community here, that we probably should look into audible signals at intersections, particularly for the blind community. There are other communities that simply give a two-tone signal at intersections. In other words, tone A indicates that traffic is moving in one direction, and tone B indicates that it moves in the other direction. That's a much cheaper alternative to the speaking signals that we have only 2 of in Grand Rapids, because they cost about $20,000 an intersection. Finally, of course, I think that I want to bring this back to my fault and Winnie's fault, and that is that we're part of a legislature that has not addressed cell phone use while driving. And that's, I think, the elephant in the room here. As far as the sudden spike that we've seen in fatalities on highways and the increases that we've seen in accidents in the city, I think a lot of that, if we're honest, has got to do with distracted driving. I think that a lot of us spend far too much time looking at our phones and thinking it's okay. And I think that one of the things that we can do as legislators is advocate for a complete halt of using cell phone devices for any purpose while you're driving. Right now, a number of years ago, we banned texting, but we all know that's not nearly sufficient. We have to simply stop all cell phone use. If you're driving, your goal should be to drive safely, not to find out whether you need to pick up milk or to check in with your spouse on something else, or to, do business. Your goal when you're driving should be to avoid accidents and to get where you're going safely. So I think that's something we have to push for in Lansing, and frankly, I don't think it's illegal for Grand Rapids to do it. I think Grand Rapids could actually pass legislation on that too, so I think that Ruth should work on that. Anyway, thank you all for coming.
So in closing, it's very clear that we have some very passionate leadership around pedestrian safety in Grand Rapids. We've been supported through a bike safety education campaign. We're being supported again through a ped safety education campaign. We have a strong community looking to get stronger each and every day, and we need your help. Look for pedestrians. Drive slower. Take your time. Thank you all for your time today.